The US out of the World Cup in the round of 16 once again. All the talk in the build-up was the red card that was taken away for Florian Balogun. That was a big talk afterwards as well. This is what the Belgian national team tweeted. Overturn this. This is what Raskin had to say, the Belgian midfielder. There's always a justice somewhere in life. The fact that something happened like that, we don't think that was fair. And today, I think it just brings us a little bit of motivation that we needed to win the game. This was İlkay Gündoğan speaking on the subject earlier today.
I am someone that believes a little bit in karma, to be honest. Not a little bit, a lot actually. I don't know if it was karma at the end of the day, but just if you look at people online, comments, I think everyone was really mad with that decision. The people who were not supporting the US, we can say it, I feel like, especially after that decision, we're on Belgium's side. We're hoping that Belgium will win. And I know people myself, who actually told me this.
İlkay Gündoğan speaking to Manu earlier today on Our Nunca. This really fascinates me because I think you can give us a great insight as former pros as to the mindset of what happens in the lead up to a game like that. Surely it's the round of 16 in the World Cup. You don't need extra motivation, do you?
No. Well, no, but because you feel some kind of injustice, I think you step up and you say, well, we have some decision that we find unfair, and so it's going to make the group even stronger and making the people sticking to each other a little more. And it's what I think happened to the Belgian team, and it's why maybe they won that game. But we have to talk about the game. On top of that decision, the circumstances of that decision, the consequences of that decision, you have to talk about the way the US team played as well.
Talk about the way then.
Well, that was, I wouldn't say appalling, but something like that.
Let's say it. You can say it, go on.
Because they missed everything. They didn't play that game. So everybody was going to jump on the goalkeeper. I think the goalkeeper is just afraid that his shoot will be stopped by the guy behind him. But everybody has to take responsibilities, and that was. We see Pulisic crying at the end. Don't cry. You didn't play. You didn't do what you had to do. You have to. If you can cry if you gave 100% and and you lost because of that's a football. But the US team and everybody didn't give 100%. It's why they lost that game.
I have to say, that was an awful performance. And I maybe got a little bit carried away with some of the sentiment around the US and their performances in this World Cup, starting with their very first game against Paraguay. But outside of Malik Tillman, I'm not sure that a single other player turned up for the US. Not what we've seen in the tournament before, not maybe what we've come to expect of them as this tournament has gone on. And then as you look back on their games in the tournament thus far, the Turkey game aside, where they made wholesale changes, everybody, Paraguay, Australia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, were all very defensive in their setup, hoping to hit on the counter-attack, and the US got the better of it. The first team that they come up against, and I stand by my initial feelings around this Belgium team, this is not a great Belgium side. But the first team that played on the front foot, that dared to attack them, that dared to give them something to think about, Rudy Garcia makes a couple of changes, and now nobody knows what to do. And nobody steps up to their task. I'm a big believer in Tyler Adams in midfield. Did not show up. We can talk about Christian Pulisic and his form or his injury. His value to this US team did not show up. And we can do that, or we can talk about Chris Richards and his performances with Crystal Palace and how important he is. Did not show up. And we can go all the way through the entire team outside of Malik Tillman. For the first time, somebody just kind of steps up, holds their ground, decides to play attacking football, and nobody knows how to cope with it.
Isn't this just where the US are? Round of 16 is about right?
Yeah, I think, if they made it to the quarterfinals, that's the 8 best teams in the world. I don't think they're amongst that. They could have done it, of course, and I think the boys are completely right in how they missed this opportunity. Maybe there was a bit of nerves, maybe the pressure got to them. I think the Balogun saga was a distraction for them. and almost took their eyes away from the game plan and the tactics. After that, I'm not a fan of Rudy Garcia as a head coach for Belgium, but his plan was perfect. But his plan was easy because this US team has been very predictable in everything they did so far. You know the patterns of play, you know they put the ball wide, you know how they press when they don't have the ball. And for Belgium, it was very easy to cancel the way they attacked and then move the ball well enough to get into the box, and then they gifted them 2 goals out of the 3. And for Belgium, they didn't have to play that well. No. But the good calls from Garcia was to drop De Bruyne, Lukaku, who were not fit anyway, and Doku, who probably would not have worked as hard defensively as Luke Bakio did. And after that, it was an easy game for them, the easiest they had in this tournament.
What's interesting, Shat, and we've all had kids that played at like town level, they're amazing, the best team. Then they go to travel, and things get a bit harder, but still they impress. And then you're just like, you go state, or you play a team from another state, and it's a completely different world. What I thought was interesting, it was a little bit, I don't know, almost childlike, is when that 3rd goal went in, it was the 59th minute.
Yeah.
Everyone down, it was over.
Yeah.
It was crazy. You've got Christian Pulisic, your main man, on the bench crying.
Yeah.
Like, you've still got half an hour of this game. I know it's all gone wrong. Everything has gone wrong so far. But we've seen comebacks in this tournament already. We've seen massive turnarounds. Yet this just seemed to be completely and utterly out of the question.
I don't get that either. I really don't. to your point, Dan, yes, you've got an example today. In the earlier game today, of a team being down and all but out, but just refused to lay down.
But look what Belgium did to Senegal.
Exactly. We can go through every stage of this tournament, and there are those examples. And even so, and speaking yesterday, I was saying that more games have been decided in the last 10 minutes of the 90 minutes in this tournament than in the lead-up 18 minutes. How are you down tools at that point is simply beyond me. Christian Pulisic, I guess maybe the argument, if not excuse, is he's injured and a little bit disappointed, and that's why he was crying. But again, optics of it all. Listen, we can, not to use Ronaldo as an example here, but think of Portugal's Euro win back in 2016 or wherever it was. Yeah. He gets injured. He is on the sidelines. In a way that I never would have expected from
he was the coach.
Exactly, from Cristiano Ronaldo. But that's what it means to be a team player in a tournament. That whatever is going on anywhere else, this comes first, and you do not lay down tools till the referee blows the whistle. It was bemusing on so many levels.
I think it's a question of mentality and belief on what you can achieve. It doesn't really matter if you're not supposedly the best team on the field, but it's been proven many, many times that because you are more hungry than the opponent that you play against, that you're capable of doing and surprising anybody. And I didn't see that. I didn't see the mentality. I didn't see the willingness of getting further in the competition. We didn't see that. We saw nothing. And about what you said about Pulisic being injured, I remember, and I'm going to take the example of the World Cup in France, and with Laurent Blanc being suspended, not playing the final. He was on the bench. He was with us. He was giving advices to everybody. I mean, he was included in the game, and that's what makes a difference between a team who wants to win, who wants to achieve something special, and the one who is scared of showing his strengths.
Jermaine Jones made a good point earlier, talking about Christian Pulisic, and he said, look, it's not his fault he's the poster child for this US team. It's not his fault he's in every commercial, that he's got by the backing of Nike. But this is where he is. He's put on that pedestal. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, you understand it from a US marketing perspective. You want to hang your hat on a superstar, but he's not a superstar, is he?
No, and I think, I'm not even sure if he wants to be one again, and that's not his fault. But then you can't have everything, though. So at some point, he will have to step up. And it's quite a young team. So I still think...
But can he step up? This is a guy who couldn't get into the Milan side. He's 27.
He had a really good season 2 seasons ago with Milan. And to be fair, he was one of Serie A's best players, if not the best player. The consistency here is the problem. And this season that just finished before the World Cup, he had injuries. It was a Milan team that was not really working with Allegri, that didn't suit his game. I can get that. But he needs now, for this cycle coming, whether Pochettino stays or not, there's another 4 years now until the next World Cup, obviously, for this US team, that if they learn from what happened here, in terms of leadership, in terms of plan B, because I think, again, Pochettino did some good things, but there's the lack of plan B yesterday of like, okay, they're better than us for now. What do we do to change that momentum and get better than Belgium and try to come back in the game at 2-1 down, 3-1 down, if we make mistakes or not? There was no plan B. They had no clue after the hour mark, like you mentioned, what do we do now? Pulisic is not there. You can't just give him the ball. And they just had no idea what to do. So leadership has to be better. Plan B has to be there, even plan C probably. And then those bigger names have to step up, because we can say the same about McKennie. Certainly on the Belgian game.
Exactly. Yeah.
McKennie, I mean, Tim Ream, I don't want to see him again, and I don't think we will see him again. But there's positions where there's issues, sure, but there's players who are better than what they showed against Belgium that have to step up.
To that point,
sorry, please.
To that point, Christian Pulisic is 27 years old. So, you know, we're saying, well, he has to learn from this and now has to step up. Next World Cup rolls around, he's 31 years old. And now, the hope, or the, if not expectation, is that at 31, that kind of position, both on the park and off it, is under some kind of threat from somebody. But now, so we're looking at a team who, as talented as we thought it was, are in the peak of their careers, or you would think. So to say, well, we learn from this and come back stronger, I just think is again, a little bit of a soft out.
I think he's not a superstar, and none of them are superstars. You know, I don't think any World Cup in another country you would have seen Beckham so many times, you know, in a commercial, or Zlatan Ibrahimovic. You would see a national team player. And in England, you would have seen, so many talented, Rice and some other, Saka. But that's what it is, and that's factual. That's a fact. You know, you don't see any international US player in any commercial, so because they're not strong enough.
But they're not he's not world class, but he's a superstar here. He's a soccer star.
No, he's not a superstar. If he was a superstar, will be.
He's the best player. So you're the best player in your country. He's your superstar.
Okay.
But he's not world class. I give you that. But he's your biggest player, your best player, biggest player. It's a shame that, like Shaka said, he didn't show up yesterday against Belgium like he should have. And you could say the injury maybe in that Paraguay game kind of just slowed down his momentum, the momentum that he had after that first half. But he has to be disappointed with his own World Cup, not just us here talking about him. If Christian Pulisic today looks at what happened in the last 4 weeks or so, he will have to say, I didn't do what I had to do with this team.
Could you just say this is a guy playing on one leg? Because the injuries that he had, obviously had that injury before the start.
Yeah, that's never a good thing, a good sign to start a World Cup being injured or just recovering. That's not a good sign, because you're not going to play your World Cup at 100% with the confidence that you need, especially if you get the leadership. Sorry. So yeah, that had an effect on his game. Yeah.
Shaq, you've lived in the States longer than any of us. Has anything changed with regards to the standard of play that you've seen in World Cups?
Standard player I've seen in World Cups. I want to feel that as an 11, this is as good a US team as I've seen on paper, given where each of those players are playing, apply their club trades. I think where things are different, or where those previous teams were better, they had something to prove. They all had a chip on their shoulder.
Right.
In terms of a representation of a sport that's disregarded at home, that their value as players was underrepresented because of where they're from. They had a cause. They were playing for a reason, and you don't get that feeling with this side. They have the recognition that players of previous generations don't have. They are playing at the clubs that players of previous generations were not able to even get a look in at. And that previous generation had a whole lot more to prove to themselves about their national game. This generation does not seem to have that edge, that reason to be a little bit nasty, that reason to run an extra yard.
Jules,
yeah, I agree. I think there's a lack of character in this squad. 100%, I think. And Pochettino has a strong character himself, good, whether we like him or not, whether we think he's done a good job or not. He's got that personality. And that's one thing, but you can't really transmit that then on the pitch. And I think Xhaka is absolutely right. This is, on paper, maybe the best team that they've had. Yet, I think the lack of character and the lack of leadership that was there in previous squads, in previous World Cups, that maybe was not as talented, but had something different to grind out games and to fight a bit more and things like that, was not there today. We don't need to go back into structure of football and soccer in the US at grassroots level with the kids that you mentioned, Dan.
Pay to play.
It's a bit, exactly, and things like that, where I think there's a lot of rebuilding to do in here anyway, for them to produce more talented youngsters than what they've had, and certainly to avoid them having to go to Europe when they're 15, 16, 17 to just have that kind of football education that they maybe don't get here, or certainly maybe open the game to more kids from, poorer background, for example, or things like that. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. But with this team, and that's why I'm saying you need to learn from this World Cup, Xhaka, is that for 4 years' time, there's some things that you can correct without having to, go into overload and things like that can make this team better, even if there would be this generation's last World Cup.
Listen, I think there's a lot wrong with the structure of the sport in terms of getting the best out of 300 million people population that the US can boast. There is a lot that goes into that. That's longer term. But we're talking about right now, this team right now. 12 months ago, Diego Luna broke his nose and was bloodied in the Gold Cup, and a lot was made of that. Now, I do not think Diego Luna was talented enough to make this squad. But this squad is lacking that type of personality, that type of never say die attitude. That has that aspect of what it takes to be good at this game. This US team does not have. And sadly, again, Diego Luna, rightly or wrongly, how we sit right now, I don't think he could have gotten into this squad, but they needed people.
You know what they need? Need to be more English. Fighting till the end. At the Azteca, the world against you. But still, you hold on.
How long did it take?
Beautiful moment.
I gotta go.
What next about the future of Sir Mauricio Pochettino? Now is not a moment to talk about that. I think now is a moment to assess the tournament. I'm sure in the next weeks we can start to talk if UF Soccer wants to talk. I think we set the principles for the future to be very successful. I think we'll create something that is going to stay now in the federation and in this. I don't even know what that last sentence means. What nonsense. What have they created? They've come out at the exact same time as they had.
Belief.
Pardon?
They had a belief.
Yes,
Four games in.
They always have a belief. Every World Cup there's a belief. Do you not listen to the chant?
4 games in, yeah. 4 games in, there was a belief about this side and how far they can go. Again, kind of blew up in their faces.
That's the beauty of this country, the optimism that they have and the belief on everything they try is why it's an example in the world. But
everybody has that optimism.
No. In France, we don't have that optimism. That's Jules,
Every 4 years, I hear more people singing "It's Coming Home" that I would like to.
Oh my God! You want to talk about those people?
That is my point.
That's what you get for having a hotel room next to it. That's how that happens. Mauricio Pochettino back on manager Tinder then? I don't think he ever logged off really, did he? He is swiping right to every club and just hoping that someone will take him away because he's not going to stay. And what's he staying for? The Gold Cup?
Yeah, I mean, there's a 4-year cycle until the next World Cup. I think you're right, Dan, in the sense that before this World Cup, his camp was already talking to AC Milan when they were looking for a manager.
Would you even fight that hard if you're the US Federation to keep him?
They think he's done a really good job. And
as you said, he had no plan B, no response when there was a change of tactics.
True. This is also the first, he's a club manager. This is very different, and we don't need to repeat it. Based in international football, look at what happened to Nagelsmann or Ancelotti. I don't think it's easy to transition from club football to international football.
But look at this is awful. I can't believe you. Why are you letting him off?
Let me finish.
If this was Rudy Garcia, I don't know why.
Don't forget, he did badly at PSG as well. So he's not my friend.
If it was Ronald Koeman, he'd be calling him that American guy.
The Argentine guy.
Why are you giving him a pass?
No, I'm not giving him a pass. Let me finish. No, let me finish. Where do you go next then? What, you try to convince Pep Guardiola to come out?
I'm looking at this from a US federation. Why do I want to give you 8 million or whatever the heck he's on every year to stay and do that?
I do it for half of it.
There you are, Frank will do it.
For half of it,
I'll
I
be
do
your
it.
assistant, Frank.
Yeah, okay.
Beautiful. Shaka goalkeeper coach.
Oh, perfect.
If you change now, you start over again.
But start what, Jules?
No, because I think there's a squad there. I think he's created an environment around the team. Okay, they were poor against Belgium. We said everything negative about it. But I think he's created some. The players like him, which is very important. It's very important. If you're in charge of the national team like US Soccer are, you ask your players. It's very simple, and many clubs do it. Do you want him to stay or not? I guarantee you, 90% of those players will say.
Well, of course, because he's picking them.
But no.
Yeah, of course. I want a manager.
To that point, listen, I think we're 24 hours removed from the defeat. I think US Soccer has every right now just to sit down, wait for the dust to settle, reassess, and make a firm decision. 48 hours ago, there's no question Mauricio Pochettino is getting a new contract. All of a sudden now, we are seriously doubting or seriously considering whether that's the right move or not. You also have to remember, kind of, given the managerial history of the US over just from the last World Cup, it has been so tumultuous that you want somebody to come in, just let things settle, let this game kind of figure itself out without that circus that kind of came with Berhalter and everything around, even from Bradley come forward. Just let things settle down. And maybe from that perspective, it makes sense. But again, for me, it's not a decision that you have to rush to make.
If you can get a better coach, sure. I'm not sure right now.
What do you want?
You would rather Berhalter back or Bradley or Bruce
Berhalter could
Arena.
have done what Pochettino's done.
I don't
Couldn't
think
he?
so.
Just gotten through the round of 16 and get knocked out when any team changes their tactics.
The thing is, for me, because you have 4 years, that's an opportunity to settle something down and maybe with Pochettino and work on what you have already. Maybe that team was still young and start something. I'm sorry, I'm going to take the example of France, 90, 92, 94. We didn't go to the 2 World Cup. We are awful during the European Championship. And they give the team to Aimé Jacquet, the assistant coach of Gérard Houllier. And he had 4 years to build something. And we know what followed. Yeah. So it's possible not maybe winning the next World Cup, but being better and more structured and work on what you were just saying on the culture of the soccer in the United States. Change maybe the mentality, build academies, and make sure that for the future. And I've been saying that since I lived in Los Angeles 20 years ago. That they have to change the structures for youth, and they have to make it more professional and more for poorer people, as you said. Yeah. You said. Because in France, you don't have any rich people winning a World Cup. That's impossible. You don't even reach the level because you need to be angry, to be hungry. That's what makes a football player a better player.
This is all irrelevant because once a big club comes knocking, he's
and
throwing his American phone out the window, he's off, and
that's where I agree with you.
He's never looking back.
I still think the desire is club football for sure.
Indeed.